It's time for GrizzBeat, a full court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
Oh man, it's wet outside, but it is hot in the studio as we get ready for another edition of GrizzBeat. I am Jarvis Greer, and we got a great panel lined up for you here today, starting with DeMichael Cole of the Commercial Appeal DC. It's great to have you here. Also with us, Lang Whitaker, host of many shows here at Grind City Media. And of course, you got the Memphis Grizzlies basketball jersey on, and everything's looking good. You got to stay warm. Behind the glass, CJ is definitely going to keep everything rolling on the ones and twos, and way out west in Cali. Going back to Cali, I don't think so, but he's out there in Cali, the guru of Grind City Media himself, the great Michael Wallace. And Michael Wallace looking good out there in Los Angeles?
Hey, good setup, man. I like that. Going back to Cali. I wonder how many people younger than us actually caught that reference, but it's a good LL Cool J song.
That right. Well, of course, since you're out there in LA, we got to talk about what's next for the Grizzlies. Coming up, the Grizz on a back-to-back after playing in Phoenix last night. They are in LA tonight to take on the Los Angeles Clippers. And the Clippers right now, they rank second in the NBA in points off turnovers at 19.8. They are third in steals, averaging 9.4 a game. Their big man, Ivica Zubac, posted 20 points and 19 rebounds in the last meeting against Memphis in Memphis. That was back in December 23rd. The Clippers came away with a 119-112 win. But then, of course, they've won 4 of the last 6 of the Grizzlies in the last 8 games against Memphis. And, of course, they do have James Harden, who has been a thorn in the Grizzlies' side no matter what team he is on. And this is going to be a tough matchup for the Grizzlies when you get out there and look at it, DeMichael, because, you know, they did beat Memphis and they handled the inside with Zubac getting, 20 and 19 against, no matter what Zach Edey did. He was trying to be big, but he got schooled there in that game.
Yeah, you go back to the game. It's not as simple as the rebounding, right? Zach Edey had 14 rebounds in that game. You know, it's just, but you got to match physicality in all aspects of the game. So even though he had 14 rebounds, for example, Zach Edey, that is, he had 3 points and he shot 1 of 8 in that first meeting. And if you go watch why he shot 1 of 8, it was Zubac is strong. Like he's pushing you away from the basket, and those hook shots, they're not little 6-7 foot hook shots anymore. Now they're 12, 13 foot, hook shots, and that's a lot tougher, obviously. So that's going to be a big part of it. That physical battle. If you watch Ty Lue teams over the history, all the way back to Cleveland, they've always been physical. They like the muddy style of basketball. They only average 110 points a game. And I say only 110 because the Grizzlies lead the NBA averaging 123. So it's definitely some contrasting styles in this game. So it's going to come down to who can kind of take control in that facet.
Yeah, Lang Whitaker, Jaren Jackson Jr. had a really good game in that game. Ja Morant coming back, getting to the hole as much as he could, but the Clippers just had a little bit more in the tank than the Grizzlies had coming down the stretch in that game.
I think if you remember that game, Norman Powell was big for the Clippers for most of the game, and then in the last couple minutes, James Harden took over and did James Harden type things. Remember the Clippers that game also defensively. Jeff Van Gundy is there now running their defense, and they had a lot of answers for the Grizzlies in that up-tempo offense they've run all season. Like you pointed out, the Clippers are really good off turnovers. The Grizzlies have struggled with turning the ball over this season. Did a better job of that last night against Phoenix, but we'll see if they're able to take care of the ball a little bit tonight. A little bit scary coming on the second half of a back-to-back for the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are 7-1 this year on the second half of back-to-backs, so have played really well on the second half of those games. Clippers, I think, have been off since Saturday, so they've had a long time off. Maybe that works in your advantage. Maybe they can't quite find that rhythm early on.
Yeah, the one thing that really is scary about the Clippers is the fact that they got the claw back.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard is back in the lineup. And Michael Wallace, you're out there in Los Angeles. Does it look like, are they saying anything about how he's doing in his return to the court? Is he healthy? Is he going to be ready to go tonight against Memphis?
Yeah, the expectation is that Kawhi Leonard will play tonight. They're on the first night of a back-to-back set. They play again Thursday. The Grizzlies are on the second night of a back-to-back set. So this is the Clippers being healthy. They also recently added Ben Simmons, who signed, as a waiver eligible player, after the trade deadline. I mean, he got a buyout from the Nets, and now he's going to be with the Clippers. He's out tonight as he try to ramp up his recovery. But they also added guys like Patty Mills. They added Marshawn Beauchamp. They added Drew Eubanks, to give him some size up front. This team has picked up some pieces at the trade deadline that was low-key improved their depth. So it's going to be an interesting matchup tonight. And as Lang said, Norman Powell is having a tremendous year for them. He was able to close the show or keep them in it. And then James Harden hit 2 big buckets, over Jalen Wells at the end of that game to seal the game. But as you talked about, Jarvis, from the very beginning, the big man, Ivica Zubac, was the one that dominated the inside, and he basically kept the Clippers afloat all night long.
You said they added Patty Mills. Was he on that Spurs team that also had Kawhi Leonard? It's another Grizz killer from the past. I don't know. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get some of the guys in there?
Assembling them all together, right? They've already won 4 in a row against the Grizzlies. I think they're just trying to add
the Avengers.
To it. Yeah, get the Grizz killer Avengers in.
They got Avengers assemble out there. And when you look at this matchup, it's going to be a tough matchup. But what do you want to do last game going into the All-Star break? Lang Whitaker, you want to have some good momentum,
sure.
even though it's against a team that has had your number here lately.
If the Grizzlies can win this game tonight, they'll go into the All-Star break 20 games over 500, which is remarkable. I mean, all Grizz fans do is complain on Twitter about this, that, and the other. But look, you go into the All-Star break up 20 games, that's remarkable. Even if they lose, they'll be 36-18 heading into the All-Star break, which is twice as many wins as losses. So I think if you're the Grizzlies, you want to go into the All-Star break healthy as much as possible. You're finally at the point where you've got most of the guys back and ready to go. Vince Williams is starting to play bigger minutes. He was in that closing lineup last night. Looked really good. So I think if you're the Grizzlies, you kind of want to go into the All-Star break with something to build on. What you don't want to do is go into the All-Star break with a bad taste in your mouth. Yeah. And, a lot of these guys – after this game, are getting on the plane and heading to Cancun or wherever they're going for their All-Star break. So let's go out on a high note. Let's go out feeling good about ourselves and have something to build on, don't you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do. And it's a good mental game for them. You talk about, what the outside people are saying about the team. And then some of the things that are said on the outside, I think, have kind of trickled to the inside. For example, with the whole conversation about the Grizzlies and how they stack up against contenders. Right. That has been a major talking point as of late. Well, guess what? The Clippers, I think you can kind of put in the contender category, especially with a healthy Kawhi Leonard into the fold. So this is going to be a good mental game from that standpoint to say, you know what? We can beat these contenders. It's not as bad as some people try to make it out to be, which I think is the case because it's not a big enough sample size, but that's neither here nor there. But this is a good game to kind of approach from that standpoint. And, yes, it's the second leg of a back-to-back. But this is a different one to me because you can kind of go all out in this one a little bit more. Because to me, usually it's not even that you're on the second leg of a back-to-back. It's usually when you're on the second leg of that back-to-back, it's part of a 3 games in 4 days stretch. Right. So not only is it that game, it's now you only get 1 day and then you're right back at it after playing games on 2 consecutive days. In this case, outside of the young guys, Jalen Wells and Zach Edey, the guys can go in this game and just throw them out there because you're going to get a lot of time to kind of get your bodies right after this.
The big 3 all played at least 30 minutes last night, so you would think tonight, let's let them run a little bit. Let's let them play and see what happens.
Speaking of that, Coach Taylor Jenkins had a few things to say about what the Grizzlies looked like in that game against Phoenix last night, that 119-112. They're up 19 in the game, and then kind of played around with it a little bit, but they got it done at the end. And let's listen to what Taylor and some of the players had to say about last night's game.
Yeah, it was great responses from our group throughout. Loved the pace of play in the first quarter. Our defensive activity fueled a lot of that. They made a little run there in that second quarter, but we didn't let it become a landslide going into halftime. And third quarter wasn't our finest. You knew that they were going to come out. Durant having a heck of a night. Trying to make it tough on Booker, but other guys knocking down shots for them. Ball had a great game. O'Neal was knocking down shots for them, but we just kept staying the course. Got to single digits there. Guys were collected and composed in the timeouts. Went out and executed. Got enough stops, and then we fueled with pace. I thought we had some spurts there in the fourth quarter. Bench especially getting stops, getting out and running, which just alleviated some pressure because. Give them credit when we had to get into the half court. I thought their on-ball pressure was pretty solid, and then their just activity with their length really bothered us. So we definitely had to, play the full 48 to come out with a nice victory.
You guys obviously have everybody healthy at this point. What is that? How much of a luxury is that to have the kind of depth to wear teams down when you guys use the bench the way you guys can use it?
Great. Now we're starting to realize that, when we out there, when we see guys on the, the opposing team out there, heavy breathing, leaning over, that's when normally, we realize and try to ramp it up. We know how we train, how we're conditioned, and, it's for 48 minutes, and we know it's hard for teams to, withstand us pushing the pace and also picking them up full and being real physical. So we just try to wear teams down, and then at the end of the game, go get a win.
This is a tough back-to-back. I mean, the All-Star game is on the other side. All-Star break is on the other side of tomorrow's game against the Clippers. How do you guys sort of rekindle that focus and that energy and the effort it takes on the second night of a back-to-back?
Yeah, back-to-backs are super hard. Back-to-backs against Phoenix and Clippers are going to be hard all the time. But like you said, just knowing that All-Star break starts after the game tomorrow, there's no minutes we should be taking off. If that, we should just give it our all because we have 5-6 days to recover. So just knowing that, respecting the game, not getting vacations too early. We're lucky to get 5-6 days. So like I said, just know it from the beginning. Go to sleep as fast as possible and just get all the energy we can to put it out there for 48 minutes.
And this tonight really could be a game where Santi could come through. He had 11 points right off the bat. He 11-0 run by himself, and he looks like, as you start the roster has come together now. Trade deadlines over. The guys know kind of like when they're coming in, when they're going out, and they know how many the minutes that they're going to get. Yeah. And as Josh said, hey, they got a lot of guys that can play. Nobody's getting more than 30 minutes unless they really need it, and that'll help you on back-to-backs like
definitely going to help you on back-to-backs. And for a guy like Santi, having those guys that can give you that extra pop is big against teams like the Clippers. Clippers play at one of the slowest paces in the NBA. That's going back to them averaging 110 points a game. They're only giving up 107 a game. So this is a team that plays at a slow pace. So if you have the ability to speed them up, and with those guys who I call those quick strike offensive weapons that you have, Gigi Jackson come in off the bench, boom, 6-7 points. Mm-hmm. Santi's capable of doing it. John Morant can grab 2 rebounds on back-to-back possessions, get up the court, and in 30 seconds you're down 6, and you're calling the timeout. They have those quick strike type of players. Those are the players that of course, you want to match the physicality. You want to, when they slow the game down, you want the Jarens, the Zach Edey's to kind of impose their will. But if you want to kind of put this game in your style of play, it's going to be big for a guy like Santi, for a guy like Ja, those players to stand out and really take control.
Yeah, and you with Zach Edey, he didn't play that many minutes last night, but he still had 9 rebounds. Bol, it was the Bol show. And I always like Bol. I have to tell you, because, after watching his dad play and seeing this guy's got talent, he just got to get in the right situation where he could play. But, Zach Edey's going to have to come up big now against the big. Zach Edey, I think right now is where Zubac was when he first came in the league. And it's taken him a couple of years to try to get used to the NBA style of play.
But let's be clear, the Suns aren't a very good team. They're not even in the play-in picture right now. They're below that. They've got one of the greatest players we've seen in our lifetimes, Kevin Durant. They've got Devin Booker, but Bradley Beal was out last night. They started Bol because they were sort of desperate last night, and they didn't really have much of a bench with him in the starting lineup. The Clippers are a better team. The Clippers have a lot of real NBA players and veterans, and Ty Lue's a great coach. And I think you can look at the Clippers and be like, this is a more of a test, I think, for this Grizzlies team. And Zubac is a guy who Edey has talked about, somebody he looks up to. He's talked about having watched Zubac and admired the way he plays and tried to model some things after him. And I wonder if that first time they played, if it was a little bit of I'm getting to meet my the guys I've looked up to. Yeah. Look, if the Clippers are going to control the tempo, they're going to make baskets, which makes it hard to run after it, and they get rebounds, which makes it hard to push the other way. So the Grizzlies have got to get misses and get rebounds, and they didn't do either of those things very well the last time, and hopefully that's something they improve on tonight.
Somebody we didn't talk much about is Vince Williams, VW, and he has. You talk about getting rebounds and getting out. And Michael Wallace, you're out there in LA. You had a chance to talk to the Bug, I guess, yourself, right?
Yeah. And you guys have made some really, really good points about where the Grizzlies are. They're actually looking at this game against the Clippers as more of a comparison to what they needed to do against Oklahoma City. When you talk about Hardenstein, and then Zubac, two guys that are physical and imposing in the middle. And then you got, obviously Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and you got James Harden still controlling things on the perimeter with Kawhi Leonard, other guys. And Vince Williams Jr., his impact, his return is going to be key in helping the Grizzlies sort of offset some of those things that the Clippers like to do on the perimeter. They didn't have him in that game on December 23rd. They will have him, or they should have him tonight. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how it looks going into the second night of a back-to-back. Vince is on a minutes restriction, so we'll see his availability. But Vince talked to me yesterday in Phoenix about what this on-ramp to return has meant for him. Take a listen.
Honestly, just going out there playing hard. I'm on a little minute restriction right now, but just going out there doing my part as best as I can for the time I'm given. So just helping my teammates the best I can.
It seems like, obviously Taylor Jenkins talked about not trying to overload you with too much. You've been right around that 15-minute, 17-minute mark. What's that process like to try to give your best, but knowing that, you can't go full go yet? You got to work your way back into that.
It's kind of hard because I want to stay out there, but as long as it's helping my team, I'll be okay. Me and Coach had sit-downs about it. We talked about it, see how everything's going to work out, and then we both came to the conclusion that's how it's going to be for right now.
You guys, when you look at that Oklahoma City game, it was a frustrating loss. It wasn't the kind of performance you guys wanted, particularly at home. But when you look at the box score, your impact was obvious. You were a plus 10. You were the only Grizzly player with a double-figure plus-minus in that situation, which meant in your 15 minutes, you guys were winning by 10 points. So you know that you can have an impact. What do you try to do when you check into a game or go into the game?
Just bring some more energy. Honestly, this is our second group right now. Just go out there, play hard, try to play with each other's best abilities and try to score the ball, but also just have the defensive intensity and try to get some more rebounds.
A couple more real quick. What was the motivation for you as you tried to work your way back? You had to be patient with the stress reaction coming out of the summer, going into the training camp, and then you had the ankle injury that cost you 30-plus games too. What was that process like to stay positive, to stay upbeat, and stay motivated?
Just working, feeling everything just coming along, body feeling better than once before. So just try to be a professional at the end of the day, try to work hard, and then talk with the training staff, let them know if something is hurting me just a little bit, just try to figure that out, and then just keep pushing along. Just know I'm going to have pain regardless of the situation, but just keeping my head down, keep working.
And now that you're coming back, I mean, what are your expectations? What did you learn about this team during that time out as you sat back and watched some of the rookies, obviously Zach and Jalen, push through and do their thing, but you also saw Ja, Dez, and Jaren kind of finally come back and put some games together as well too. What did you learn about the Grizzlies as you had to sit back and watch?
That any day, Ja, Dez can go out, Jaren gonna step up to the plate, JJ go out. I know those two are gonna step up to the plate. Just everybody coming along, knowing their role, and just keeping their head down, working hard, no matter what the situation is. And hopefully we come out. Now we see them improve. So that's the best thing possible.
And I'll get you out of here on this. What are this last little stretch before the All-Star break going to mean for you? And how will you spend your All-Star break still trying to ramp yourself back up?
Try to get back in shape, just full as NBA shape, you could say. Keep working hard, get some more shots up, and try to build my confidence I had from last year to this season.
All right, good enough right there, man. It's Vince Williams Jr. I'm Michael Wallace. Keep it locked on all of our Grizzlies content as we get through this last week before the All-Star break and then beyond. Vince Williams is back, baby. The Grizzlies are going to have that intensity. You know what he's going to bring night in and night out. Keep it locked on all of our content and coverage at Grizz.
Well, when you talk about Vince Williams Jr., he's definitely going to be spending his All-Star break, as he said, getting in NBA shape. He played another 16 minutes last night. He was impactful. He closed the game, as Lang pointed out. He started the second quarter and played the most of the fourth quarter in that situation. He's just going to have to build up from there. Again, we'll see what his minutes mean, and particularly his availability for tonight's game against the Clippers on the second night of a back-to-back. So we know what Vince Williams Jr. will be doing during the All-Star break. We also know what three members of the Grizzlies will be doing in the All-Star break as well. They're going to San Francisco. Take a look at how the Grizzlies honored Zach Edey, Jalen Wells, and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Grizz Nation, please direct your attention to center court and welcome Grizzlies General Manager Zach Ryman and Head Coach Taylor Jenkins as they present the All-Star Money Ball to our very own rising stars Zach Edey and Jalen Wells and two-time All-Star Jaren Jackson Jr.
Wow, take a look at what they're doing here for All-Star Weekend. Of course, Tripp comes in. He entered the week as the Grizzlies' leading scorer, 23.3 points a game. That is a career high for Jaren Jackson Jr. Zach Edey comes into the week as the Grizzlies' leading rebounder at 7.6, and that's exactly what they wanted him to be when they drafted him. And Jalen Wells, who knew about Jalen Wells? He comes in tied for the Grizzlies' lead in games played at 52. You know, and you talk about, you know, all the PTSD we had coming off the seasons before, and he comes in a rookie, and has he missed one game? Or has he's played every single game that the Grizzlies have played, and he's been a starter.
Yeah, it's been amazing to kind of see how this guy came from Sonoma State 2 years ago, D2, and played 1 year D1 basketball. I was like, all right, I'm ready to go to the league. And even, you know, we talked to Zach Kleiman the other day after the trade deadline, the Grizzlies GM, president of basketball operations, and he was basically saying that, like, you know, we were thinking like, oh, you know, get him some reps in the G League, see how he progresses over the season. And you just mentioned it. The Grizzlies are what, 35 and 17?
36 and 7.
36 and 17.
36 and 17.
So that's 53 games. He's played in 52 of them. Like, and not only he's played in them, he's guarding James Harden, he's guarding Luka, he's guarding LeBron. They're throwing him in the fire, and he's holding his own.
And even more than that, he's getting beat up every night. If you watch him closely,
I feel
for him sometimes.
Yeah, like he goes through it every single game. And he's really sort of going through like the hazing process, right? Like he's like the young guy. They're like, all right, you're going to get 3 fouls every half. You're going to get beat up on every screen, every pick. These veterans are going to use every move they've got in the books against you. And
some of them are getting the superstar calls.
Yeah, you're not going to get a call. You're getting no calls. Yeah. And so I love watching him. Like when he doesn't get a call, his guy goes to the free throw line. You can watch him go up to the referee very politely and say, like, hey, what did I do wrong there? Like, just tell me.
Please explain.
And I don't even know if he cares what the guy says. He's just letting the guy speak his mind. He's talking to the guy. But he's really taking his lumps. And he's like, you know, I think this is what it is a rookie goes through. It's going to pay dividends down the road, but it's already paying off right now.
All right, speaking of down the road, it's time for a new segment we started here on GrizzBeat, the 24-second shot clock validation. You got 24 seconds to validate your point, and the question is, what is the biggest challenge for the Grizzlies coming out of the All-Star break as the season goes along? And we will start with Grind City Media's own Lane Whitaker. Your 24 seconds starts now.
One thing that I'd like to see is we saw last night the Phoenix Suns throwing a bunch of double teams at Jaren Jackson Jr. And I wonder if we're going to start seeing that more going forward because Jaren struggled with it. He finished the 1 assist and 4 turnovers. So I'd like to see the Grizzlies start as they start getting more into those half-court offenses, not able to play up and down in close games, especially we're going to see it in the postseason. In the fourth quarters of games, I want to see Jaren start taking on some more of those double teams, hitting the open guys out of that, and seeing guys like Vince Williams make those three-pointers.
All right, there you go. You got it just before the buzzer, man, and it's counted. Bucket's good. DeMichael Cole, what's your biggest challenge for the Grizzlies? Start the clock.
The biggest challenge is continuity, and what I mean by that is I think there are so many layers of what the Grizzlies the things that they do that can kind of come together just by guys being available. More in particular, it's the turnover problems, right? If you get Ja out there more consistently, you get all these guys playing together more consistently, you get a consistent rotation where you know who's going to be on the floor with who. You're going to build that continuity for the playoffs.
All right, and DeMichael Cole gets in under the buzzer. You can give him two. All right, I'll take it right now. My biggest challenge for the Grizzlies, start the clock, will be the Grizzlies season at the beginning had a little bit of an easier schedule, loaded with a bunch of Eastern Conference teams. Now you're going to face the meat of the West here in the second. Well, this is the stretch run. It's not like the second half of the season. There's only 30 games left after tonight. And so you got to hit this thing and hit it hard, knowing that these are the teams, some of them you might face in the playoffs. You got to put the thing down.
There you go. There you go.
All right, let's go out west to Michael Wallace and see what he says.
Start the clock. Great job, Lane. Great job, DeMichael. Great shape up, too, right there, DeMichael. I'm going to spend my first 6 seconds dedicating it to that shape up that you got right now. You're ready for All-Star Weekend. The biggest challenge that the Grizzlies are facing the stretch run, beating the teams that are ahead of them and are more physical. They were 9-13 against teams with winning records going into this week. They have to be much better coming out of the break against those type of teams.
And DC,
He threw me a compliment and still
he got faded up good there. Looking good. I don't know about Lang over there. We got to work on his a little bit. But anyway, talking about doing some work, it's time now for the segment you have been waiting for. It is our Sonic Question of the Week. And before that, you know where we go? We go behind the glass to CJ for the Mailbag Question of the Week from Sonic. What is it, CJ?
For the Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week, remember, BLJ catching you out there on that street slipping. He's going to run up to you, he's going to ask you a question about the Grizzlies. And then he's going to give you a $5 Sonic gift card where you can get it. A chili cheese coney, one of those delicious burgers. How about a corn dog, tater tots, fries? What do you want? Do you want a slushie, a milkshake? Sonic has tremendous depth on their menu. They didn't need to make a trade at the trade deadline. And they got the good ice. BLJ, what's this week's question?
Yo, it's your best hype man, the NBA BLJ. You see it's Grizz's birthday. I got all my superhero stuff going on. I got Michael right here. All-Star break is right around the corner. Man, trades are done. All that good stuff is done. But you do have a special question about that. What you got, Michael?
My question for the Grizzlies front office is, will y'all make a push to get a better wing for the playoffs?
He wants to know, will we get another wing for the push for the playoffs? Back to the studio, we'll make something shake.
All right, just like CJ out there. I thought that was his twin, I think, on superhero night. But, wow, is there another wing out there? We're talking about the buyout market right now. What's on the buyout market, Michael?
It's not a lot. It's slim pickings, so to speak, when you're talking about the buyout market. And right now, every roster spot on the Grizzlies is technically
set.
It's set. They have one player who's not with the team right now, Johnny Davis, for example, and Zach Kleiman has said his future is TBD.
Which means he'll be waived.
More than likely, pretty much. And with that being the case, you're talking about the buyout market. You're talking about going out and getting maybe a defensive-minded player. I don't think there are a lot of players who are going to be bought out that necessarily the Grizzlies will be going out there on the buyout market. It's more so just like from the free agency standpoint. So I don't know if they'll go get a wing. I think it'll be an injury, kind of like a wait and see, like if an injury happens or whatever. But I don't see much. I
don't think they would go get a D guy because there were so many lineups even last night where they had multiple defenders in there. Now you can throw out a Scottie Pippen and a Vince Williams at the same time, or Jalen and whoever at the same time. If anything, I would think shooting might be something else you would look for. You saw last night, especially when they had the big three in there, how many open shots those other guys were getting.
Yes.
And, if you could find someone who knocks those down, which every NBA team's looking for, I think that's what you would look for. But, again, as we said, those it's hard to find those things. Even like Ben Simmons just came on the market, and people are like, "Oh, but he doesn't shoot the ball."
No,
so
wouldn't have been a fit.
No, I don't think that would have fit. So I think it's going to be tough to find the right fit. And also, Zach and Taylor Jenkins have been really clear about the group matters. Like they try to find the right personalities, the right mind for this group of players. They did just add, we didn't even talk about Marvin Bagley.
Yeah.
So maybe
that's
the
mine.
ad. Yeah.
I was going to say they got Marvin Bagley, and it's one of those kind of guys that, we can throw him out there and see what's going on because the Grizzlies will be somewhere in the 2 to 4 range for the postseason. You can throw him out there and say, well, you don't have to hit that buyout. Michael Wallace out there in L.A., you hit the buyout market or you just hold what you got and just keep rolling?
I think you hold what you got and keep it over. I think you finally got this group healthy. You finally got the guys you want to have. And as Lang mentioned, you got Marvin Bagley, who's going to be recovering and conditioning for the next few weeks. And then you kick the tires and see what he can do maybe down the line in some limited minutes. You don't need any more additions, but you probably will need to create that roster spot just in case you need to make an emergency sign.
All right, creating a roster spot could be what they have flexibility, so they can do whatever they need to do. Our flexibility right now tells us we got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll go around the NBA. A lot of stuff happening, and we'll tell you all about that when we come back on GrizzBeat.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board. A class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GBWR.
Memphis Cat is back with his Heaven on Earth tour.
I tried to be incognito, but thanks to Shannon Sharp's loud mouth, the gig is up.
February 22nd in the FedEx Forum.
In my spare time, I infiltrate the Illuminati. Look for their secrets. Run back. Tell y'all.
Don't miss this year's most talked about comedy icon live. He's back with brand new material, an unmatched wit, and an electrifying performance. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Shinedown. Dance Kid Dance Tour. Live in Memphis. FedEx Forum, Saturday, August 30th. With special guests, Bush and Morgan Wade. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Shinedown, live in concert. For more, visit shinedown.com.
Alrighty, Grizz fam, it's Black History Month, and the Memphis Grizzlies are celebrating with several community initiatives, social highlights, and in-game entertainment during the month of February. Visit grizzlies.com/BHM for more information on how you can celebrate Black History Month with the Memphis Grizzlies. Hey, back here in studio, just across from FedEx Forum. Gloomy day outside, but it was a great night last night for the Grizzlies in Phoenix, and it was also a memorable night for one KD, Kevin Durant. 30,000 points he hit for in his career in that game. He had 20. He needed 26 points, his average. He got 26 points. He got 34 for the game, and that's just a great milestone. I think he's the 8th player in NBA history to reach 30,000 points. And also, John Morant also commemorated KD by giving him the game ball at the end, and they kind of like slapped five with each other. It was a really neat thing to see, and a little bit of sound from last night.
For Ja to seek you out there and give you the ball, what is that like? Not only that small sort of memento sort of mean for you, but also just in the grand scheme of things for you to have the respect of the younger generation as well, this next generation coming up?
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a goal of mine, more so than anything in this game, is to gain respect from the hoopers that play. So for Ja to show me that respect, it means a lot to me. He's a young player that I admire since he was in college, and I can see a few of these young players in the league reaching that milestone as well.
It's really something about Kevin Durant, about KD, because, he came into the league, he couldn't even bench press the bar, basically. And I think he said that, the basketball don't weigh but however much, and he could shoot the heck out of that. And he's been injured a lot in his career, but still coming up with 30,000 points.
When he was coming out of college,
Texas.
He went to Texas. He was on the cover of Slam magazine. Him and Greg Oden were the 1 and 2 picks, and there was kind of this controversy, who's going to go first or second. So I wrote the cover story. So
Slam, wow.
We did the two of them together, and it was like, who do you pick? Which is your choice? So I interviewed each of them separately, but asked them both the same 20 questions, like as if I was a GM. Like, how do I decide if I'm going to take you? And Greg Oden was great. He was like, hey, I was like, why would I take you first? He's like, I'll come in, I'll work hard. What kind of teammate will you be? I'll try to fit in. I'll do everything it takes. And with Kevin, I flew to Washington, D.C., where he was from, and we did the photo shoot, and I sat down with him. Nicest guy. And I'm like, hey, so all right, first question, why should I take you number one? And he said, because if you're in front of me, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to figure out how to beat you, and I'm going to be the best player of my generation. Doesn't matter who you are. If you're better than me, I'm going to be better than you, and I'm going to work until I figure that out. And I was like, all right, I know who I'm taking.
Yeah. And that's why they call him the Slim Reaper, right?
He's lived up to every bit of that hype, man. He has been unbelievable, and to see him hit this milestone, it's incredible.
DC?
Yeah, I mean, he's just so polished, right? I think that's when I watch him, certain players, you can see the way they play, how much they work on their game, and he's one of those. Because if you just watch him play, he's making the same shots he was making first year, second year in the league. But it's the art of the game behind the game. Like when you're watching him, it really challenges your mind because the way he gets to those spots. Even like, I go back to that game against the Bucks when the Nets played the Bucks in the playoffs, and he made the 3-pointer where his foot was on the line.
Yes, toe on the line.
It looked like it was just a last second shot. But if you watch him play, that turnaround shot, that is something that he gets to. Like that's a regular shot for him. So watching him over the course of the years, and he's kind of created this archetype, right? Like that is how you determine how you leave your legacy on the game. Like, LeBron talked about how Magic Johnson, kind of birthed the big guard, right? And Penny Hardaway and those guys, how LeBron is kind of taking it to another level. And now you look at what Kevin Durant's done. Now you got the Victor Wembanyama's of the world and all these 6'9", 6'10".
Jabari Smith or
Jabari Smith.
Brandon Ingram.
It's a long list. All these guys want to be KD.
I thought last night it was funny because you could see KD come down. Just last night, he would come down. As soon as he got to his spot, he knew when he was going to get a foul. And he would go into the move, and before the referee was done blowing the whistle, he had already thrown the ball to the ref. He knew it. Like, he knew this was coming.
Some guys,
Jalen Wells got in foul trouble because of that.
I used to hate that when he was with Oklahoma City because it's like, dadgummit, they give him superstar. Just get out of the way. If he's going to the lane with full head of just don't get close because you breathe on him. But you cannot deny his talent. We got a chance to see, I don't know if they still play this game, the U.S. high school stars versus the international stars. They played that game one year here in Memphis at FedEx Forum. KD was in that game. And this guy looked like he was this big. But he put 30 points up, and it was effortless. Effortless. And then we got to see him at Texas, what he did there, and then Oklahoma City. And then, he got a ring with Golden State. But now he's at Phoenix. But, it's a guy, Michael Wallace. You've seen him his entire career, and it's just all you can do is tip your cap to a guy like that, right?
Oh, no question about it. And I go back even further than that with Kevin Durant. His mother used to work at the same postal office that my uncle works at. So that, I remember, her talking to him and him talking to us about the phenom that he was going to be coming up in that D.C. suburban Maryland area. And, he's lived up to it. I always wondered, man, why are you going all the way to Texas when you're from D.C.? And then I thought, wow, I guess I went all the way to Grambling and I'm from D.C. So it's one of those things where guys sometimes got to get out to find themselves in different walks of life. But Kevin Durant, man, he's always been personable. He's always been, forthcoming and forthright with you. And he's always answered. Like he engages with guys on social media. He engages with guys in direct messaging. Whether you criticize him or compliment him, he's willing to have a conversation with you. And I've always admired that about him as a man, and obviously what he's done as a basketball player in the
Only one thing they talked about on TV broadcast, he was getting ready to check in a game, and the Grizzlies were up like big, and some lady fan was yelling, "KD, can't you do something?" And he turned around and looked at her. "What do you want me to do? They're just better." It's like, they're just better than us. I'll go in and do what I can. But he has that ability. You can hate him as a player, hate on him as the enemy, but you cannot. You have to respect the talent and respect the way that he's carried himself.
He kind of went through it, though, when he left Oklahoma City to go to Golden State. Everybody's like, oh, he teamed up with the enemy and all that, and people were writing songs. Remember, it was rough there for a little bit, but he managed to kind of come out on the other side. And I think at the end of the day, people are going to remember him as one of the greatest scorers to ever play the game.
Definitely, indeed. And now we had a whole bunch of trades, of course, in the NBA. A collage of trades we'll put up right now. It's really something to see all these guys moving from here to there, left and right. Of course, everybody wants to talk about, the Luka trade to the Lakers from Dallas, but that was not the only trade that happened. To Michael Cole, what are some of the trades that you thought maybe make a little bit of difference in the NBA?
Yeah, there are a few of them that come to mind. It's just little needle movers that catch my eye. Like those were some of the bigger moves, and I think one that stood out to me was like DeAndre Hunter going to the Cavs. With the three kind of obviously being like their main weakness, and them having Garland, them having Mitchell, Mobley, and Allen. It's like that spot in between those guys. Kind of fortifying that. De'Aaron Fox, of course, going to San Antonio. That's the biggest, the one with the star power that catches my attention because, they're hovering around, in the back right now, but can they really make a run in this short, it's a sprint the rest of the way. We're talking 30 games. Can they really make that run? The one that's kind of the most gouging for me was the one that didn't happen. You know, the Mark Williams trade. And I mean,
from Charlotte to the Lakers.
That is one I think we're going to talk about for a while. Like, what could have been, what should have been. Like,
I thought that was a great trade for Charlotte.
It was.
And
Charlotte.
It
was. Dalton Connect alongside LaMelo Ball, giving him that kind of shooter, and Brandon Miller.
And they got a first-round pick out of it, too. And I was like, this is actually a great deal for Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then it didn't work. And also, like, if you're the Lakers, I get you want to get a mobile center to play alongside Luka and LeBron.
Yep.
But you only have one first-round pick for the next decade, and you trade it, and you trade for a guy who missed 65% of his games, Mark Williams.
It was risky.
And now the trade got called off to begin with. So
because of his health.
Yeah, like the whole thing was weird. But I thought the way the Hornets were kind of approaching this trade deadline was really smart for them. Like, you know, they know they're not going anywhere this year, so they took in some assets, tried to figure out longer term what we're doing here. If you're Dallas, like, I get why everyone's so upset. But I thought, like, if you have to move Luka, and you don't have to, but if you did have to move Luka, I kind of liked the Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving fit for that team.
Max Christie's solid too. Like,
yeah, Christie's great
I think
too.
he's just some throw-in.
He's had a couple of good games.
I kind of like. I mean, health is the big issue there. We're already seeing it with AD. Kyrie's also been good this year, but who knows with him? Like, so if you're Dallas, I get it. Now you're in the situation where, like, you can't do anything. The fans are all upset, and like it's a bad spot. But I kind of my first glance was like, oh, I kind of see where this works. With the Lakers, I get it. You got two of the generational players. They play the same position.
Basically, they do the same thing.
And
they're ball dominant.
Well, everybody's like, well, this sets you up for when LeBron retires. He's like one of the 10 best players in the league now.
Still.
Like I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
Some scrub that's rapidly declining.
He's going to be Gordie Howe. He'll be 50 years old.
They just gave his son a 4-year guaranteed contract. So I think they're going to have to figure out how do we use these guys together. It's easy against the Jazz. They're going to have some tougher games coming up, and we're going to have to figure out how do we use these guys together with Alex Lynn as our center too. They've got some things to figure out, I think.
One thing I thought, there was a trade. Like the Wizards got a couple of players who I thought, they got, they got. What they got Marcus Smart and Middleton. Those were guys that were playoff guys. You think that's who you want, but then they go to the Wizards, and the Wizards are going nowhere fast.
They don't want that.
And so that was kind of odd to me that is what would happen. Michael Wallace, you got a particular trade stands out in mind?
No, I mean, I think you guys hit them all. When you look at what LeBron James and Luka Doncic is going to mean for the, Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, those guys, the Lakers were already rolling before Luka got there. I mean, this is a team that, again, was winning 9 out of 10. I think they're 9-1 in their last 10. And then, they play again. They get a good on-ramp. They get a good scrimmage session with these two games against the Utah Jazz because they play the Jazz again tonight before the All-Star break. And then when you look at Steph and Jimmy, what Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry is doing. Steph is in the most productive stretch of his season right now, averaging 34 points over the last 4 games. And those two guys are unlocking one another. So when you talk about Steph and Jimmy, Steph is a guy that's a great shooter. He commands a lot of offense, a lot of defense. And Jimmy Butler negotiates that space. He's going to operate in the paint, in the mid-range, and do things in that way. So those are two teams that you definitely got to look out for when you talk about the first impressions of the Warriors and the Lakers in terms of what they were able to do. So those are probably the biggest winners in terms of instant impact that this trade deadline is going to help for sure.
All right, let's get a look at this GrizzBeat Power Poll now as we head into the stretch run of the season. Of course, the Thunder is leading the way with everybody at 43-9.
Is this your Power Poll, Jarvis?
No, this is Michael Wallace Power Poll.
I'm going to make sure.
I defer to Michael Wallace. I didn't own it at all earlier, but then he convinced me that he was right on pretty much everything that he's picked. But if you look at it, the order is correct. I mean, the Cavs at 43-10, the Celtics and the Knicks, and the Knicks are ahead of the Grizzlies because they beat the Grizzlies in a head-up matchup. Then the Nuggets are creeping up there, fellas. You got to watch the Joker and company. The Lakers, now that they've got their all-star duo, their all-NBA duo, and of course, the Rockets, they've been kind of on the snide here. They've come back a little bit, but, they're still learning. They're still learning. Got to get that scar tissue. The Pacers can be good, and the Clippers, the Grizzlies will face them tonight. I don't know. What do you think? What do you see out of that, DeMichael Cole?
Yeah, I think this is a solid grouping. And going back to my point about the Grizzlies competing against the contenders, I think this list is a good example why I say it's an incomplete picture. You know, they played the Clippers one time. Like, if you go up and down the list, they played the Pacers one time, beat them. They played the Rockets 4 times. That's where you have the bigger sample size. But all those games have pretty much been close. The Lakers is a new-look roster. Memphis or Denver have neither have been healthy for those matchups.
Just call it 0-0.
Exactly. And we've seen the one game against the Knicks. We've seen the one game against the Celtics. They haven't played the Cavs, and they just played the Thunder. So, like, it's still an incomplete picture to me. But, yeah, all these teams, really good basketball teams.
Only team I'd throw in there is maybe the Bucks at the bottom of that. They've been pretty good. I think they're like 4 or 5 games over 500. But otherwise, I feel like this is Mike. We're going to give you a thumbs up on this. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
good
Mike. Michael Wallace, the guru of Grind City Media, the great Michael Wallace. It's your poll. You got to defend it, but it's looking it's looking like it is correct.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. I mean, when you look at the teams that have beaten other teams and how the pecking order, I do think the Celtics are better than the Cavaliers. They've proven it twice this season already. But, Cleveland is just beating up on everyone else. And when you talk about a 6-game difference in the loss column, I mean, that puts, the Cavaliers at 2 as opposed to 3. But, again, the Grizzlies are right there. That top 5 speaks for itself. And then there's a separation from that next 5 right there. But these teams are all going to be, when you look at 1 through 7, any one of those 7 teams, if they end up in the NBA Finals, I don't think anyone would be surprised.
About it is the Grizzlies are going to get a healthy dose, other than the Rockets, are going to a healthy dose of all these teams here in the stretch run of the season, and that's when the rubber meets the road. One more segment to go on GrizzBeat. When we come back, we'll take a look at the week ahead for the Grizzlies. That's after the break.
Can't wait. It's time to get it popping.
It's going to be crazy. The fans are going to be loud. We need just energy.
We're going to need, the form rocking. We're going to need, everybody in Memphis to be out there to come to support.
When the fans are good, we're good. Simple as that.
A Bane 3, yes sir! Desmond Bane with ice water in his veins.
We'll ride the energy together.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
Riding into FedEx Forum on February 15th and bringing edge of your seat action to Memphis. Experience the thrill and excitement of professional bull riding for one night only. And that's no bull. Tickets are on sale now at FedExForum.com. You guys ever ride a bull?
No.
Not rideable?
I want to do the mechanical one, but
The mechanical.
yeah, just like
you guys ever ride?
I did a real one once.
Hey, yo, right?
I did a real one. They had a promotion.
When did you do it, Jarvis?
Yeah, it was when I was working Action News 5, and they had a promotion Mid-South Fair. They had the rodeo, and they said, "Yeah, come on out and ride a bull." So I went out and I did it, and I was on 8 seconds.
Did you get
I got
flipped off?
I got bucked off. I hit the ground, and I rolled. And when I rolled, boom, his rear hooves came down, almost caught me in the head. I didn't know it at the time. My wife saw it and said, "Don't you ever do that again."
Yeah.
Of course, I've never come close to anything like that. But you do crazy stuff when you're young, right?
Yep.
Right now, it's a crazy week ahead because it's the All-Star break for the Memphis Grizzlies. After tonight, game at the LA Clippers, where the great Michael Wallace is, it is the All-Star break, which means plenty of action for your Memphis Grizzlies and mine, because I'm a season ticket holder. I got part of that too. You see here, Zach Edey, Jalen Wells, they'll be in the Castro Rising Stars game. That's coming up on Friday night at 8 o'clock. You can see it on TNT. They're on the same team, which is going to be cool. Then Sunday, Jaren Jackson Jr. will be in the 74th NBA All-Star game. That's at 7 o'clock on TNT. We had a crazy format this year, but it sounds pretty cool. Looks like a chance where maybe we could see the rookie team playing against Jaren Jackson's team in the final. That could be really cool. Then the Grizzlies back in action all together as a group. On February 20th, they'll be at the Indiana Pacers, a 6 o'clock start. You can see that on the regular network with Brevin and Pete and Rob. They'll be on FanDuel Sports Network. You know where that is. But a big week for the Grizzlies as far as the All-Stars are concerned. DeMichael Cole, who's going to win this All-Star game? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I blew that. I was getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at the quick Western Conference standings. We see where these are playoff teams in the West right now. OKC running away with everything. There are the Grizz in second place at 36-17. Creeping up are the Denver Nuggets, then the Lakers, Rockets, and the Clippers that we will see tonight. Houston, wow, they got a tough break with AD getting hurt. Yeah. What do you think about how this playoff picture's looking, fellas? We'll start with DeMichael.
Not a lot of room for error in this one. One little small injury that sets you back for a couple weeks could be. I mean, look at Houston. It was just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We were talking about the Grizzlies
they were the 2 seed.
Catch them in that 2 spot, and now Memphis has a little cushion between itself and Houston. But I just talked about San Antonio too. Like, you look how far down they are in the standings. Like, how are they really going to make up that room? But De'Aaron Fox makes them a different team, so that's an interesting team to follow as well.
I think Golden State too is a team now with Jimmy Butler. Like they've got something there, and I wonder if Sacramento now, they had that little run where they were real hot, they were really good. They lose their point guard, and I know they went and got Zach LaVine, but we've seen Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan not get it done before, so. I don't know. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. But I think that's the Golden State is an interesting team to me, and I don't know if San Antonio is close enough to make a run.
What I'm thinking,
But they're going to be good too. I think with that.
I think San Antonio with bringing in Fox now, they're kind of like where Houston was last year, where they started to kind of figure it out as they looked good early, then they kind of faltered, but then as the season went along, that last stretch, they caught fire, and now we see what Houston is now. I think that's what that De'Aaron Fox trade is going to do for them. Michael Wallace out there in La La Land, you got a favorite coming here at the end of the stretch run of the season in the NBA for the playoffs?
And rightfully so, because if Luka Doncic and LeBron can figure this out, and if they can figure out some kind of way, they just made a move to get a big. I mean, they got Alex Len coming in as well too. So they're going to be the most attractive team, the most polarizing team. But Denver can be sneaky good in this situation. They're a team that's, I think they won 7 in a row. They're kind of finding their footing right now. Jokic is the Joker is healthy, and they're looking pretty good. But my intrigue comes at the sort of the 9, 10, 11, 12. All 4 of those teams in that area made big-time moves to change their roster. Only 2 of them can get into those last 2 play-in spots. You talk about San Antonio. The Phoenix Suns didn't necessarily make a move out of that group. But if they don't make the play-in, this is going to be, you got to blow this thing up one way or another. It's going to cost guys jobs. It's going to cost guys their future in Phoenix and all of those kind of things. And then you got to figure out what's going to happen at 9 and 10. Golden State is going to look good. Sacramento, are they going to fall back? That 9, 10, 11, 12 is going to be the most intriguing thing about the stretch run for me.
Yeah, that looks like fun. And Michael, while you're there, it's like, to me, it's whoever's the most healthy down the stretch and in the playoffs, because that's the way it's been for the last, 15 years in the NBA. The healthiest teams end up winning. But having said that, when you look at this grouping of teams coming down at the finals here, I remember, a few years ago with the beginning of the core four was Zebo and that crew. When they made the playoffs as a 1-8 matchup against San Antonio, the Grizzlies were the 8th seed, the Spurs were the first. The Grizzlies were actually a 6th seed. They lost down because they wanted that matchup. Michael Wallace, you see any teams trying to maneuver around that? And the Grizzlies are in second right now. They don't want to get like third or fourth because they don't want to have to see Oklahoma City in the second round. You see any kind of teams kind of moving or maneuvering or massaging that schedule to try to get into a spot they want to be in?
Nah, because I think no one's going to catch Oklahoma City at 1. 2, 3, when you talk about the Grizzlies right now in Denver, I think the Grizzlies want to be at least 2. I don't think they need to drop down or anything like that. But 2, 3 is pretty much locked in anyway for where you are. I don't think teams are going to be jockeying up top because I think the younger teams up top, the Grizzlies and the Thunder, feel like they have something to prove. And then the teams at the bottom feel like we're veterans. They haven't proven anything yet. We've won championships before, or we've gotten far into the playoffs before. So it's going to be intriguing like that. No matter how it matches up, you're going to have to go through a hard route to get to the finals in the West.
Yeah, and speaking of getting that hard route, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce have a show that we've seen, and they have a lot of fun talking about the teams and the contenders, and they both believe that the Grizz are a contender, which is really neat to see. And they had this to say about the Grizzlies on their podcast as far as being a contender, a really good contender for the title in the West.
Jack Jr. has been the key, bro. He's been consistent every night. He's been aggressive. I don't think he's been consolidating much. When they go through him, he's really setting, and then now he's playmaking. He's actually taking another step in his development.
Yeah, they showed me that they can play without Ja, too, over the years. Got hurt, and they was winning without him. So they developed something in that period of time to where they like, all right, it helped them create more depth, where they gave more guys off the bench more confidence. And so I really like the makeup of this team and their depth. And they got great coaching down there. They are a team that you really got to watch out for in a 7-game series, especially if they're healthy, because Jaren Jackson is starting to look like a monster. And he's the prototype big man for today, because he get it done on both sides of the court. He blocking shots, he shooting threes, he getting stronger. You can tell he getting stronger, he getting that dog in him the way he be going through dude's chest. He made the All-Star team this year, and that was the leap that he had to keep making. If this team gonna be a threat in the West, it's through him. And then you got that complimentary, like they could be like a little mini Golden State, man, quiet as kept. Because you got Ja, you got Jarrett, and then you got Bane, could be like they Clay. You know what I'm saying?
They got big Edie.
Edie is cool, but I don't expect a lot out of him because he's a rookie. He hit or miss some nights.
Listen, to be 7 foot plus, however big he is, he can block shots and he can dunk the ball. Offensive rebound, help rebound. Like, bro, he ain't just in there just to be in there.
Like, I'll take them over in the 7-game series over anybody in the West except for OKC. Like, think about that. Memphis can be in the conference finals. They could beat Houston. They could beat Denver.
All right, no lies detected there. He said it don't like OKC. Well, proof's in the pudding. We'll see. They got 2 more games to play. But what do you think about that? These are guys that have been around the block and are very well respected in their crafts. And they're saying, Memphis, they'll take them pretty much against anybody.
They got a little hardware. They got a little jury to prove that they know what they're talking about
got that.
Too as well. But yeah, I think that's kind of the general assessment of the Grizzlies right now. They've been consistent all season.
Yeah.
They're beating up on these bad teams and whatnot. We're going to get the bigger sample size of how they stack up against some of the better teams over the course of these next couple months. But based on what we've seen this year, you can tell that last season, the guys that were able to play, the Jarens, the GGs, the Vince Williams, and et cetera, Scottie Pippen Jr., it was really kind of a good stepping stone for the team, that the depth that they've established this year.
It's funny because those guys put out so much content that they're going to put out stuff you disagree with. And every once in a while, they're going to put out something that you're like, hey, look, they got it. They got it right.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, this one's a good one for us to grab and hold on to. I think for the Grizzlies, the real test is going to be, we know we can beat the bad teams. We know we can beat mediocre teams.
Yep.
Now we got to beat the great teams. And that's going to be the next thing for this Grizzlies team, to be able to beat an OKC, to be able to beat a Boston. They won one in Boston. To be able to beat a New York, teams like that. Like, I think that's for this Grizzlies team. That's kind of the last step, the last test for this Grizzlies team to prove to people that they've got that.
Yeah, the Grizzlies have gotten some scar tissue. They've been in the play. The core group has been in the playoffs. Yeah. They know what it's like to be there. Now it is taking that next step. You know, they've done a good job this year not playing with their food. They have devoured the teams at the bottom of the league. In the middle, they've kind of like, they've done really well. I mean, they've done well. I mean, they're almost 20 games over 500, which they hopefully will be after tonight's game. And it's just one team, maybe two. Probably the best game they played all year was up at Boston, where Ja was just absolutely crazy. You've got BC coming back and looking good. They had a great game last night, by the way, 14-7. Yep. And Zach Edey played well. If they can get that kind of effort and play within themselves. Nobody did anything crazy. There weren't any real crazy turnovers. They kept their focus down the stretch. The great Michael Wallace, what do you think about that? You think that it's possible for this team with the scar tissue that it's gotten and even playing with the rookies that they're playing to be able to make that next step?
The Grizzlies' time is now. I think that's what Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett are alluding to. The time is now. You put 6 years together with your three top guys. Ja, Jaren, and Dez have been together for 6 years. No other team has the continuity of their core group that the Grizzlies have right now that hasn't won a championship. So I'm not going to say it's now or never, but these next 2 years, this year, next year, are the years where if the Grizzlies are going to break through with this core the way it is constituted presently, they got to get it done. And I'm with you. I'm with you. There's not a team that I say the Grizzlies definitely can't match up with, but there are also some teams out there that I say, you know what? They got to exercise some demons against some of these guys. And it's going to be intriguing these last 2-3 months of the regular season going into the playoffs.
All right, we'll let that be the last word from the guru of Grind City Media, Michael Wallace. You'll hear him on the call tonight out there in La La Land against the Clippers. And we got a great core group right here in the studio. DeMichael Cole from Commercial Appeal, Lang Whitaker, who's host of many shows here at Grind City Media. We got the guru behind the glass, CJ, on the ones and twos. That Sonic, man. I'm going to have to go get me a Sonic now. That mailbag. All right, we'll take a break. We got the All-Star break coming up. But you watch the game tonight on FanDuel, Grizzlies at the Clippers, 9 o'clock. And then we will see you next week on Wednesday right here at 2 o'clock for another GrizzBeat. See you then.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of GrizzBeat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.